On October 22nd, every laugh, every eye roll, every maybe later was seen. What you delayed is now at your door, for judgment or for mercy. The clock is ticking, but not for long. October 22nd. The date is not random. It is not an accident on the calendar or a coincidence of time. It is a divine timestamp, sealed in the heavens and etched upon scrolls that do not age. It is a line drawn by the Spirit, a mark of separation between delay and decision. October 22nd is not coming. It has already come. And now, it begins to speak. For too long, the Spirit watched in silence. But silence is not absence. And stillness is not passivity. Heaven has been silent, yes, but not still. While you laughed, while you shrugged, while you promised maybe later, the watchers watch. The Spirit of truth hovered over every half-hearted nod, every dismissed whisper, every moment you knew, but didn't move. The rolled eyes weren't hidden. The dismissive chuckles weren't unnoticed. The delay wasn't unseen. You thought heaven would always wait. But now, what you delayed is at your door, not knocking gently, but demanding an answer. This message is not for everyone. It is not for the comfortable. It is not for the casual listener who scrolls on. This is for those who felt it, the strange stillness in their spirit, the unshakable awareness that something sacred was missed. You know who you are. You felt the pull in the silence. You saw the signs but told yourself it was coincidence. You delayed what should have been answered. And now, the delay has become the demand. Heaven is not asking anymore. It is observing. The time of grace is not over, but it has narrowed. Mercy still walks, but now it walks beside judgment. They are not running, not shouting, they are walking. Closer, closer still. The delay you thought gave you time has become the threshold where time begins to close. October 22nd is not the beginning of the end. It is the end of the excuse. This moment requires no noise, no performance, no scrambling. It requires silence, stillness, surrender. For in this hour, silence has become obedience. And obedience is the new sound of faith. Your delay was loud. Let your decision be quiet, but final. Because what was once delayed is now at your door, and it comes wrapped in either fire or oil, for judgment or for mercy. But the choice is no longer in the future. It is now, and the clock is ticking. But not for long. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. Hear now the voice of the Archangel, the guardian of divine order, the one sent to awaken the called and confront the delayed. I am Michael, commander of heaven's hosts. I speak now, not in thunder, but in truth. The trumpet of accountability has already sounded, and to those who have ears to hear, it is no longer a distant call. It is an echo pressing upon your spirit, a sound that demands response. A prophetic clock has begun to strike, not in minutes or hours, but in shifts and judgments. The Spirit of the living God declares, by the dawning of the next watch, balance will begin. What was weighed will be measured. What was overlooked will now be overtaken. What you delayed is not distant. It is at your door, for judgment or for mercy. And the clock is ticking, but not for long. Heaven has interrupted routine. This moment is not normal. You may be in your room, on your phone, in a space of comfort, but the Spirit says, enough delay. The silence you felt wasn't emptiness. It was divine observation. Your days of excuse are ending. Not because heaven is cruel, but because heaven is just. This word is not for the mockers. This is not for the ones who scroll past, who say, maybe later, who treat the divine like entertainment. This is not for the eye rollers, the doubters, the spiritually deaf. This word is selective. This is for the awakened, the stirred, the ones who felt the whisper in the night and trembled but said nothing. This is for the ones who knew and still did not move. October 22nd is not just a day. It is a threshold, a spiritual border, a divine line drawn in the sands of time. On that day, heaven did not speak, but heaven recorded. The watchers took note. The Spirit of Truth observed posture, not performance. There was no applause, only accountability. And now, as the veil begins to lift, the books are opening. Let your heart be still. Let your mind be silent. The next move is not yours. It is heaven's. And heaven does not stutter. Heaven does not delay. Heaven does not reconsider once judgment is written. This is why you felt the unrest. This is why peace has felt distant. It is not punishment. It is positioning. You are being invited into a divine interruption, a moment where what you ignored becomes the thing that ignites you. There is still time, but not much. The Spirit is near. Angels are watching. Scrolls are being unrolled. You do not need to panic, but you must prepare. The time for delay is over. The time for obedience is now. Because what knocks at your door is no longer opportunity, it is outcome. If you feel the fire rising in your chest, the stillness overtaking your thoughts, the trembling behind your ribs, do not run. You are not crazy. You are being awakened. You are being summoned. This is your reckoning hour. The trumpet has sounded. The Spirit has spoken. Delay no more. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. There are movements taking place that no human eye can yet see. Doors are closing softly in the Spirit, not slammed, but sealed. Names are being weighed, motives examined, and whispers recorded in realms beyond sound. October 22nd was never about spectacle. It was about observation. It was the day heaven leaned close and took note of the heart's posture. Every laugh, every delay, every quiet dismissal was seen, and now, in this sacred silence, heaven begins to respond. Those who once laughed now find their laughter echoing in empty rooms. The same ones who said maybe later now feel the quiet ache of awareness pressing at the edges of their peace. There is a strange unease rising in the air, not chaos, not fear, but recognition. Something in the unseen world has shifted, and the soul knows it. You can sense it when the room grows still for no reason, when the night feels heavier, when memories begin to surface that you thought were gone. It is not coincidence. It is the return of awareness. The Spirit is moving again, this time without announcement. There are watchers among you, not of flesh, but of light. They have been near, waiting for permission to act, observing whether your delay was defiance or fear. They are not angry. They are patient. But patience has a purpose, and purpose has an end. The silence before a storm is not absence, it is alignment. Heaven is adjusting the atmosphere, preparing to deliver what was delayed, whether it be correction or completion. And deep down, your spirit already feels it. For many, there is a restlessness they cannot name. It feels like guilt, but it is not condemnation. It feels like trembling, but it is awakening. You may not even understand what you are sensing, the pull to repent, to release, to return. It is not random emotion, it is divine disruption. Heaven is not angry, heaven is attentive. The gaze of the eternal has turned toward you, and everything hidden is becoming visible beneath that gaze. Those who mocked will soon fall silent, not out of shame, but out of recognition. For when the divine moves, it needs no defense. When heaven begins to act, even the skeptic senses the tremor. There will be no thunder, no fire from the sky, no dramatic announcement, only the weight of realization settling upon the soul. You will feel it as a stirring, a knowing that cannot be denied. The question will rise like a whisper in your spirit, is this about me? And the answer, gentle yet unshakable, will come, yes. It always was. This is the season of reflection, not reaction. The Spirit is watching, not to accuse, but to align. Heaven is not angry. It is remembering. Remembering what you promised, remembering what you delayed, remembering what was planted, but never watered. There is no need for fear, but there is need for reverence. The same silence that once felt empty is now holy. The same delay that once felt endless is now divine recalibration. For every laugh, for every eye roll, for every maybe later, the time of reckoning has arrived, not to destroy, but to define. Stillness has become the measure of the chosen. Those who can stand quiet in this hour will see mercy unfold like dawn after a long night. But those who remain distracted, dismissive, detached, they will miss the soft movement of restoration that now begins. Heaven is moving, quietly, intentionally, with eyes fixed on obedience. This is not chaos. It is correction wrapped in compassion. Be still and know. The silence you feel is not empty. It is filled with judgment and mercy, standing side by side at your door. Type "I receive mercy" in the comments if this message speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 777 is now active upon you. Beloved, as this word stirs your spirit, remember this. When you support the message of heaven, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into souls. Every seed you plant here becomes a sound that reaches someone who has forgotten that God still speaks. The same fire that touches you now will touch others through your obedience. I hear the Spirit say, "Those who water shall themselves be watered." This is not about money. It is about mission. When you give through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are building altars of light across the earth. Do not delay your yes. Let your giving be prophetic, not optional. Heaven will mark it, and the oil of multiplication will rest upon it. Act now, for the harvest is ready, and you are part of it. Do not confuse the war within you as an attack from the enemy, for what you are facing now is not the wrath of hell, but the resistance of heaven. This is not punishment. This is purification. This is the holy tension between who you were and who you were called to be. What you called delay was never the enemy. It was divine silence, waiting for your sincerity to rise. It was the mercy of God, stretching time so that your response could be born from true conviction, not convenient emotion. But now, time is no longer stretching. It is snapping back into alignment. And everything hidden must now be handled. You thought it was the devil who slowed your prayers. You blamed warfare for the silence. But the Spirit says, you were not delayed by darkness. You were delayed by disobedience. Not the loud kind, the subtle kind. The delay wasn't rebellion that shouted no, but hesitation that whispered later. And in the kingdom of obedience, late is still disobedience. God does not move on performance. He moves on posture. And many postures were found wanting when October 22nd arrived. Every unanswered prayer was not abandonment. It was a mirror to your hesitation, a mirror to the parts of you that wanted the promise without the process, the blessing without the burden, the crown without the crucifixion. And so, the heavens did not reject you. They paused. They measured. They watched. They waited to see if your silence would turn into surrender. Let the record show. You are chosen. But being chosen does not exempt you from testing. It invites it. The refining was not punishment. It was heaven preparing a vessel that would not crack under the weight of glory. Some of you have felt abandoned, not realizing you were being examined. The lack of answers was not distance. It was a divine evaluation. The Lord was not far. He was looking closer than ever before, inspecting the places where you hesitated, measuring the weight of your yes. Heaven is not after your loud worship. It is after your quiet obedience. For in this hour, performance will not protect you. Only purity will. The enemy doesn't need to attack what your delay already dismantled. But the Spirit of truth has come now to reveal what you thought was a blockade from the enemy was a barricade from heaven, not to keep you out, but to keep what was holy from being handled casually. This is the hour when reactions shape results. Every moment of surrender invites mercy. Every delay that turns into obedience will be washed in favor. But every refusal, even passive, every continued delay, will now be met with divine decision. The heavens are no longer waiting for your perfect performance. They are responding to your posture right now. You are not abandoned. You are being called into alignment. The waiting season was not waste, it was weighing. And heaven has found you again. Found your heart, your tears, your broken yes. And now, your reactions will either become your release or your restraint. Let it be said, the Spirit has been watching, but not to destroy, to define, not to punish, to purify, not to reject, but to reassign. And now, as judgment and mercy walk side by side toward your door, let your heart break before your will does. Let your surrender speak before your silence condemns. Because heaven never stopped watching. And now, heaven is ready to respond. Type I am refined in the comments if you know this message is for you. Blessing code 717 is circling your household. Now hear the word of the Lord, not as suggestion, not as encouragement, but as divine announcement. Within days, what you postponed will knock again. And this time, it will not wait at the threshold. The knocking will grow louder. The invitation will feel heavier. What you laughed at, what you delayed, what you rolled your eyes at, it now comes dressed in authority. Not as an option, but as outcome. The Spirit declares, heaven's clock has no snooze. The alarms that once rang as conviction are now becoming commands. What used to be gentle nudges in your spirit will now become undeniable shifts in your life. The message that once whispered to your soul is rising now with the force of a storm. This is not the same invitation you ignored. This is heaven's follow-up. And heaven does not beg. It announces. And once the announcement is made, only obedience can respond. There is a sound coming, not thunder, but recognition. It will not crash through your window. It will rise from your memory. You will hear a familiar voice, not from outside, but from deep within. Words you once dismissed will return to you. Phrases spoken over you in quiet moments, prophetic impressions you ignored, promises you put off. They will echo again, not as auctions, but as orders. And you will know it. You will feel it. The question is, will you finally obey it? Many will miss it because they expect drama, but God is moving in patterns now, not performances. What you dismissed because it looked ordinary will soon prove to be the divine in disguise. The delayed door is not lost, it is circling back. And this time, the one knocking does not knock as a guest, but as a judge and a redeemer. One hand carries justice, the other mercy. Which one touches your house depends on what your heart does next. The season of waiting is collapsing. Heaven is accelerating decisions, compressing delays, fast-tracking alignments. You will feel the pace increase. Opportunities will surge forward and demand response. Conversations will resurface with intensity. And the Spirit says, what was once tolerated is now terminated. The Lord is no longer permitting disobedience to dress as confusion. You knew. And now, you are expected to act like it. But do not be deceived. This is not condemnation. This is clarity. And clarity is heaven's final kindness before consequence. You do not have to tremble in fear, but you must not remain in delay. Every second of silence now becomes a spiritual signature. Every hesitation is a reply. And the absence of action will be taken as the presence of refusal. You asked for confirmation. It's here. You prayed for a sign. It has arrived. You waited for a word. It is speaking to you now. You are not lost. You are being located. And what knocks at your door is not what was. It is what must now become. This is the shift. This is the summons. This is the sound of delayed obedience colliding with divine consequence. Let your house be found ready. Let your heart be found willing. Let your yes rise now before the moment passes. Because this time, the delay is not coming back around. This time, the outcome is permanent. Type I will obey in the comments if your spirit is awake to this call. Blessing code 1919 is now moving on your behalf. Now that the weight has been revealed, now that the door approaches with either judgment or mercy, the instruction is clear. Do not run, rest. Do not argue, listen. In moments like these, the enemy hopes to provoke panic. But the Spirit does not lead through fear. He leads through stillness. In this hour of sacred exposure, stillness is no longer passive. It is prophetic. It is protection. It is posture. Silence has become your shield. Obedience has become your armor. Heaven is not calling you to strive, to scramble, to fix the past. Heaven is calling you to surrender. The Spirit is not demanding performance. He is watching for posture. Not the posture of your body, but the posture of your heart. It is the bowed heart that triggers angelic intervention. It is the silent yes whispered in prayer that activates divine reversal. The temptation will be to react in the flesh, to over-explain, to defend your delay, to justify your resistance. But the Spirit says, your voice is not needed, your surrender is. This is the time to cleanse the space you call sacred. Examine your atmosphere. What voices have filled the room where God was meant to speak? What distractions have you allowed to drown out the whispers of conviction? Remove them. Quiet them. Rebuke them. Not with shouting, but with stillness. Do not just clean your environment. Sanctify it. Let your house become a resting place for the Spirit again. You don't need a pulpit or a platform. You need a clean room, a pure heart, and a spirit that listens. There is no power in busy religion, but there is unmatched authority in holy stillness. The ones who stand quietly are the ones who will remain standing when others fall. Your warfare in this hour is not your words, it is your willingness. The enemy cannot imitate a yielded heart. He can mimic sound. He can mirror movement. But he cannot counterfeit surrender. And surrender is what heaven recognizes. Not charisma. Not effort. Just obedience. The silence you are called to is not void. It is not empty. It is filled with divine instruction. As you rest, God is fighting. As you listen, angels are aligning. As you yield, heaven is building around you the very thing you were trying to build alone. This is your moment of covering. But covering requires cooperation. And cooperation comes only through stillness. Be still and know, not that you are in control, but that He is. The mercy of God is not passive. It is aggressive in its protection. It stands at your door with judgment, yes, but also with oil. And oil only rests on what is clean, what is quiet, what is ready. Many will miss this moment not because they didn't feel it, but because they refused to still themselves. But you, if you respond now, if you quiet the noise and cleanse the altar, you will not miss it. You will be covered while others are exposed. You will be secured while others scramble. Heaven fights when you are silent. Not because your silence has power, but because your silence is agreement. Agreement with the voice of God. Agreement with His timing. Agreement with His sovereignty. This is not about effort. This is about alignment. And alignment begins with quiet obedience. Let it be said of you, when heaven moved, you did not panic, you positioned yourself. Type "I am positioned" in the comments if you received this guidance. Blessing code 4040 is now releasing divine covering over your household. You've trembled long enough. You've wrestled with delay, felt the weight of silence, and stood at the edge of divine decision. But now, a new sound is rising, and it's not the sound of judgment. It's the sound of transformation. Heaven is not calling you to remain in the posture of regret. Heaven is calling you to rise, to reclaim your place, to remember your name, and to respond with fire. Let this truth be etched upon your spirit. You are not who delayed. You are who decided to respond. Your past hesitation does not cancel your future authority. The delay was real, but it does not define you. What defines you now is the decision rising in your bones, the holy resolve stirring in your belly. There is a sound coming out of your spirit that once only echoed in your dreams, but now it is becoming your decree. You were refined in the silence. The fire did not consume you. It purified you. What you called rejection was refinement. What you feared was denial was actually design. You weren't being pushed away. You were being pulled deeper. Deeper into dependence. Deeper into clarity. Deeper into trust. For the Lord does not waste delay. He weaves it. He bends it into strength. He turns hesitation into hunger and turns silence into strategy. You are stepping out of the place of delay and into the posture of dominion. This is the hour where hesitation dies and boldness is born. You no longer need to wait for confirmation, because you are the confirmation. The very fact that you're still standing after silence is your evidence. You've walked through the fire, but there is no smoke on you. You've wept in the wilderness, but now oil drips from your obedience. You carry the fragrance of surrender, and heaven can smell it. You are not beneath. You are above. You are not behind. You are aligned. You are not disqualified. You are distinguished. You are being raised, not just to recover what was lost, but to carry what others dropped. You carry a name written in light, not the name your delay tried to give you, not the name your shame tried to whisper, but the name heaven assigned you before the foundations of the world. Chosen, anointed, trusted, sent. This is the moment where you outgrow hesitation. You are not called to entertain fear. You are called to confront it. Every ounce of doubt that tried to define your past now becomes fuel for your future. The very thing that tried to break you is the proof that you were always more than it. You are stepping into maturity. You are stepping into fire, but this time, you are the fire. You are becoming the sound you once ignored. You are becoming the movement you once postponed. This is not a future promise. This is an awakening. What you carry can no longer wait. What you've seen in the spirit is now demanding expression in the natural. The clock has not stopped, but it has turned. And now, it ticks not as a warning, but as a countdown to your emergence. This is your shift. From delay to dominion. From waiting to walking. From trembling to triumph. And all of heaven is watching, not to test you now, but to celebrate the one who rose from the ashes of indecision and said yes with fire in their eyes. Type "I am ready" in the comments if your spirit knows this is your rising moment. Blessing code 3030 is now unlocking boldness in your atmosphere. Now hear this, for it comes not from man, but from the mouth of the Spirit. The shaking was never meant to break you, it was meant to align you. What appeared as silence was actually strategy. What felt like abandonment was the architecting of divine structure behind the veil. This is the hour when heaven removes the curtain and reveals why the delay was necessary, why the silence was sacred, and why the weight of your waiting had eternal purpose. The time is now. The scrolls have turned. What once stood still is now being summoned into motion. October 22nd was not just a day on the calendar. It was a prophetic shift in the eternal record. It marked the moment heaven moved timelines, the moment where destinies were rerouted and postures were reviewed. The hand of the Lord hovered over your life, and that silence, not to punish, but to realign. Not to reject, but to redirect. What you thought was denied was never denied. It was being rebuilt in silence. While you questioned if heaven had forgotten, angels were rerouting blueprints. While you asked why, heaven was answering with not yet. And now, the not yet is becoming now. You are standing at the doorway of what was always yours. But now it comes not as a reward for consistency, but as the result of alignment. The Spirit speaks. I delayed the release, not because you weren't worthy, but because I was building what you didn't have the capacity to carry at the time. You were preserved for this. Delayed, not denied. Prepared, not punished. Protected, not passed over. Heaven waited because heaven was about to trust you with more. You were not being ignored. You were being trusted. Trusted with weight, with assignment, with influence, with all that cannot be faked. You were being refined for rulership. And now, rulership is at your door. Not the kind that exalts ego, but the kind that governs atmospheres. The kind that shifts bloodlines. The kind that restores generations. And there is more. Your name, yes, your name, was spoken in the council of the righteous. There are scrolls in heaven where your surrender has been recorded, where your silence has been seen. And the voice that sounded before the foundations of the world now echoes again over your life. Mercy has answered. What was once hanging in the balance is now being marked with favor. What once teetered in delay is now tipping into release. The prophetic winds are not just blowing, they are birthing. You are not in preparation anymore. You are in release. The wait was necessary because the oil had to mature. The call had to purify. The heart had to be emptied. But now, heaven says, I will fill what is finally willing to be full. And you, yes, you, are that vessel. Let the doubters fall silent. Let the mockers bow in confusion. Let those who counted you out watch as the scrolls of heaven unroll in your favor. Because now the silence breaks. Now the oil flows. Now the delay becomes destiny. And all of heaven bears witness. You are worth the wait. Tight Mercy found me in the comments if this prophetic word is for you. Blessing code 8855 is flowing like oil into your season. As heaven reveals the reason behind your delays, you are witnessing not just a word, but a divine mission unfolding. Every time you sow into this message, whether through super thanks, channel membership, or the PayPal link below, you are lighting lamps in dark places, placing swords in the hands of the weary, and turning scrolls into strategy for someone else's awakening. I feel the Spirit saying, what you support now becomes what supports you later. When you give, you don't just help deliver the message, you multiply the reach of this fire. Your seed activates divine acceleration for souls waiting to hear what you just received. Let your gift become an echo of this word. Let heaven mark your giving as agreement with destiny. Step into prophetic alignment through your support now. Now, let the word be made flesh in you. Let the seed that was delayed break forth as destiny. This is no longer about warning. This is about activation. The hour for waiting has closed, and the door to walking in divine mandate now swings open. What was once stalled by hesitation must now be awakened by declaration. You must rise. Not later, not when you feel ready, not after another sign. The time is no longer approaching. The time is now. And heaven is not requesting, it is commanding. Rise now, says the Spirit of the Lord. Rise in your voice, rise in your identity, rise in your decision. This is the moment to speak the yes that heaven has been waiting to hear from your mouth. Speak it out loud. Declare it into the atmosphere. Let every principality, every delaying spirit, every mocking force, and every accusing voice hear it. I align with divine timing. The moment you release that yes, angels move. Chains break. Scrolls turn. Delayed blueprints activate. Your yes is not just agreement, it is access. It is the key that unlocks doors long shut by your silence. You don't need perfection. You need permission, and heaven is giving it now. You don't need more time. You need timing, and divine timing has arrived. You've been circling the same spiritual mountain long enough. You've wondered when God would move, not realizing He was waiting for you to speak the word that authorizes breakthrough. Your destiny does not need more explanation. It needs your participation. And participation begins with obedience. When you say yes, truly say yes, something happens in the atmosphere. Peace rushes in. Resistance shatters. Weight lifts. Heaven leans closer. Because heaven always responds to surrender. And not just any surrender, but the kind that's fully aware of the cost and still chooses obedience. The kind of yes that isn't just emotional, but eternal. That's what this moment demands. That's what this moment is birthing. Heaven's door is not unlocked by noise. It is unlocked by alignment. And alignment is not accidental. It is intentional. You cannot wait for your environment to confirm your obedience. You must obey until your environment conforms to the word God placed in your spirit. This is where the inheritance lies. Not in delay, not in comfort, not in fear. It lives in the soil of your surrender, in the rhythm of your obedience, in the sound of your activated yes. Do not make the mistake of thinking this moment will come again. What stands before you now is not routine. It is holy. And what you do next will shape the seasons ahead. You were not preserved through delay just to return to convenience. You were preserved to step into command. The command to build, the command to release, the command to rise, the command to walk, even when you don't feel ready. But you are ready. Not because you feel strong, but because heaven has decided you are trustworthy. You are ready because your yes now carries weight in the unseen realm. What once silenced you will now submit to you. What once delayed you will now deliver to you. But you must speak. You must respond. You must obey. So rise. Speak the yes. Break the silence. Align your spirit. The delay is over, and your destiny is waiting. Type "I align with heaven" in the comments if your spirit is awakened. Blessing code 9900 is activating your release right now. There is an exchange happening, not in the visible, but in the invisible. It is silent, but it is sacred. It is quiet, but it is weighty. While you sleep, while you pray, while you repent, while you whisper yes beneath your breath, heaven is making moves on your behalf. There are transactions occurring in realms beyond your comprehension. Scrolls are being unsealed. Assignments are being reassigned. Angels are shifting positions. Not because of noise, but because of alignment. This is the mystery of delay. What it stole is now returning, not through struggle, but through surrender. You thought delay meant loss, but in the kingdom, delay is sometimes a holding vault. And now, what was held is being released, not by force, but by obedience. What was postponed is now proceeding. Not because you shouted louder, but because your heart bowed lower. Your surrender became currency. Your repentance became authority. Your yielded spirit signed the contract that your striving never could. This is the hour of holy reversal, but it doesn't look how you imagine. There is no spotlight, no announcement, just a stillness in your atmosphere, a divine calm that carries power. You feel it, don't you? You can't explain it, but you know something is shifting, not around you, but inside of you. That is the exchange. That is the transaction. That is what heaven has been waiting for. You cried out, "God, restore me." And he did, but not the way you expected. He restored your awareness, your discernment, your posture, and your name. And now, because of that restoration, the external things must come into order. This is why peace is entering rooms where chaos once ruled. This is why clarity is overtaking confusion. This is why your sleep has changed, your appetite has shifted, your sensitivity has increased. You are not imagining it. You are becoming what you once prayed for. There were contracts written in the spirit while you were on your knees. There were decisions made in the courts of heaven while you said, "I yield." There were scales that tipped in your favor while you said nothing but "Yes, Lord." These are the moments that hell fears, not the loud praise, but the quiet surrender. Not the public altar calls, but the private breaking. Because it is in that breaking that your oil was released. And it is that oil that is now marking your path forward. You felt the ache because your spirit sensed the transfer. What was lost is being located. What was hidden is being handed back. What was stolen is now returning through covenant. And not everything will be loud. Some doors will open softly. Some instructions will come as whispers. Some breakthroughs will arrive disguised as peace. But make no mistake, the transaction has been made. Scrolls have been unrolled. Names have been illuminated. Assignments have been approved. And your spirit knows it. That is why the atmosphere feels electric. That is why the air feels charged. That is why you cannot go back. Not now. Not after this. You've crossed into the zone of divine return. And what is being returned was always yours. It was simply waiting for your readiness to match your calling. This is your silent exchange. This is your secret victory. Heaven moved, and you moved with it. Type I receive the exchange in the comments if you feel this confirmation. Blessing code 1212 is establishing your restoration in the unseen. Let the heavens declare what the earth has yet to understand. Justice has already begun. Not the kind of justice the world manufactures, not the hollow kind that seeks revenge, but the divine justice of a holy God, measured, exact, sovereign, and sure. There has been a reversal. Quiet, precise, unannounced. The very thing that mocked you is now being silenced. The same delay that frustrated your soul is becoming the door that crowns you. There is no court higher than heaven. And when the gavel falls in the unseen realm, no demon, no lie, no delay, no distraction can reverse it. The gavel has struck. Your name has been vindicated in places you've never seen. There are accusations that once rose like smoke in the spirit. Those words, those doubts, those mocking voices that said you missed it, that you were too late, that you weren't chosen, they have now fallen silent. Because justice is not always loud. Sometimes it comes wrapped in reversal. What mocked you will now marvel at you. What was once a punchline in the mouths of scoffers is now being transformed into testimony. Those who laughed at your delay will not understand how suddenly the door opens for you. They won't comprehend how the very thing you were denied is now being delivered. But they don't have to. Because this isn't about their understanding. It's about your obedience. The Lord says, I allowed the delay not to deny you, but to expose them. I let them mock because I needed to reveal who was watching, not to support, but to sabotage. And now, the mocking spirit has been silenced. The laughter that once echoed behind your back will now be replaced by awe. For what heaven is about to do in your life will cause even your enemies to say, surely the Lord is with them. Let it be known, mercy did not cancel justice. Mercy redefined it. Justice does not always mean revenge. It means right order. Heaven is setting things right. In your family. In your finances. In your identity. In your name. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being positioned for reversal. A turning of the tables. A switching of the seats. A shift in the spirit where the last becomes first and the overlooked becomes the overcomer. Do not take vengeance. Do not demand recognition. Let the Lord vindicate you. Let the oil speak louder than your voice. Because what's coming doesn't need your defense. It needs your stillness. God is proving something through your life. He's proving that obedience, even in delay, will be rewarded with a reversal that no one saw coming. And this reversal is not small. It's not partial. It's not symbolic. It's public. You went through the delay privately, but the reversal will be seen. What was done in the spirit will now break through into the natural. Justice is not a concept. It is a movement. And that movement has now surrounded your house. You will begin to feel it. Things will begin to return. Opportunities, honor, momentum, access. But this time, without striving. This time, without baiting. This time, without proving yourself to those who never saw you. The Lord has turned the page. The previous chapter was delay. The next chapter is demonstration. Let the scrolls record it. The delay that wounded you has now become the very door that crowns you. Type "Justice is mine" in the comments if this word has touched your spirit. Blessing code 7744 has now been stamped across your timeline. And now, as heaven draws this message to a close, hear this with reverence. What delayed you was never meant to destroy you. The wait was a test. The silence was a shield. The resistance was a refinement. And your posture through it all has not gone unnoticed. October 22nd was never just a date. It was a divine checkpoint. A spiritual watermark in time. A threshold where heaven examined who was still standing, who was still watching, and who still whispered yes, even when no one else was listening. Let it be known, you passed the test. Not because you were perfect, but because you were present. Not because you got everything right, but because your heart stayed in position. And now the voice of the Lord declares, you are seen, you are sealed, and you are sent. Sent into purpose. Sent into timing. Sent into inheritance. Sent into the very season that once felt a lifetime away. You were never disqualified. You were being qualified in silence. You were never left behind. You were being positioned beyond what others could see. The clock you feared has not run out. It has turned for your victory. Every second that once whispered too late now beats with the rhythm of divine alignment. And as heaven releases this final word over you, take it not as a farewell, but as a commissioning. You are not leaving this message the same. You are rising from it with mantle and mission. You have not missed your moment. You are standing in it now. And with every breath, with every obedient step, you step further into what was written of you before time began. The delay is lifted. The door is open. And your redemption was recorded. The watchers saw your surrender. The scrolls documented your decision. And the Lord himself has signed the season ahead with a seal of favor. So go now, not in fear, but in faith. Go in quiet confidence, with your spirit anchored and your voice ready to declare the truth you now carry. What once delayed me now delivers me. You are moving not as one who waited, but as one who has been prepared. Type "My season has shifted" in the comments if you know this is your final confirmation. Blessing ode 4422 has now closed the door to delay and opened the gates to fulfillment. If this word stirred your spirit and marked your season, I invite you to not only receive it, but to release it forward. When you sow into this word, you're not giving to a platform, you're igniting the reach of revival. This is not about support, it's about sowing into breakthrough. The same mantle that just touched you can now be sent to someone else through your obedience. As the oil flows, let your seed flow too, through super thanks, through membership, or through the PayPal link in the description. The Lord says, I will bless those who bless what I have anointed. Your giving is a prophetic echo of your alignment. Seal your yes not just with words, but with a gift that heaven can multiply. Release it now, and watch what heaven releases in return.